All right. Well, with that, we are live here on Amazon. And if you are watching on another channel, then come on over to amazon.com/live. You'll be able to find us there. D. Scott Smith. I am online today with our author, Louise McDonnell. And I don't want to talk too much because we're just going to have fun talking today about planning for 2023. Louise, you've got a great tool that you've been using, you've been sharing with people for years. We're going to talk about the importance of social media in general, marketing, storytelling. But let's get into Louise, who are you and what is going on in your world? In fact, where in the world are you?
Well, thank you, Scott, so much for inviting me on your show. I'm absolutely honored to be here. My name is Louise McDonnell, and I'm actually based in the west coast of Ireland. So I'm based in just outside a little seaside village called Enniscrone in County Sligo. And from here, I run a digital marketing agency. So I have a remote workforce with people who work for me who are based in various locations across Europe. And I also, as well as having an agency, I have an online training academy. And as part of that, as part of training people, I take all the information that I accumulate and I publish it into my annual planner.
Yeah. So just to let everyone know that we've got the planner in the carousel. So again, if you're watching LinkedIn, YouTube, you can go to motivationallistener.live. That'll bring you to Amazon, but amazon.com/live, you can watch. And we've got a couple of books in the carousel. One of them that is new every year, the 2023 Social Media Content Planner, as well as the Facebook Marketing book. Let's talk about, Louise, let's talk about Facebook marketing. There's been a lot of changes. They're going to continue to change. Your book has been around for a while, but let's just talk about what it means to do social media and Facebook marketing.
Okay, so the Facebook marketing book has been around since 2019. So I have been training and helping businesses use social media as marketing tools since 2009. And so Facebook would have been the first social media channel that I would have done a lot of training on, because I suppose in 2009, it was the only gig in town. And so since then, obviously, it's not just Facebook that I would cover, it's all social media channels, because fundamentally, Scott, and we've had these chats before ourselves, it's actually about creating engaging content that communicates your core messages, that also links back to your business goals. That's what's actually important, and showing up consistently to do that. So so that is penultimately what the planner is about and what the books are about. It's about how to create a strategy so you spend as little time as possible getting the best possible results for your social media marketing.
A lot of business owners, they're really good at what they do, but not so good on the marketing side. And social media is intimidating. What I've seen a lot of businesses end up doing is they'll have an intern, or they'll have some family member who I'll say is 20 something. And it's assumed because that person is of a certain age that they know how to use social media. But I don't think that's really true. They may know how to set up accounts, but they really don't know how to market and present businesses.
It's so true, Scott. It's so true. And in fact, the first thing I say to businesses when I'm speaking at a conference, I just ask people to raise their hands if they really don't like social media. And then when I say, well, that's okay, because sometimes I don't really like it either. And I'm not, I'd be saying I don't really want, you don't have to be an influencer sharing, what your coffee or what you have in the morning, for breakfast in order to get results from social media. In fact, it's not about that at all. It's about learning to use it as a business tool, which is very different to what content creators or influencers will do in order to use social media, as a marketing tool. And you're so right, just delegating it to somebody who doesn't understand about your business, or who can't, if you're selling a service, you need to be front and central in your social media, because people need to get to know and like and trust you. And even if you're an online retailer, but again, people need to know how you differentiate your products from other people. And so outsourcing that and never being part of it, you're never going to get results. And I've come across so many businesses that have been set up incorrectly, and then all of a sudden they don't have access to their accounts because their son, nephew, friends, son, nephew have gone traveling to the other side of the world and can't remember the passwords and can't remember how they set it up. And so sometimes it can be a complete mess,
Hmm.
So yeah, I would say don't delegate it. Delegate it, but you need to know what you're delegating so that you can manage it effectively.
I like that, be an informed consumer on that.
Exactly.
It-
Exactly.
it's 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 funny because there are people, and I've worked with businesses that say, I don't like social media, and there's a lot of controversy around different platforms. And pick your platform: Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be some sort of conflict, and there'll always be business owners who say, "But I'm not on Facebook, or I'm not on any of these platforms." But there was a time when the new businesses, the progressive businesses, the ones that were successful, had websites, and all the other businesses didn't. So back in the early 90s, that was a thing. And in fact, Jeffrey Moore, the author who wrote Crossing the Chasm and Inside the Tornado, he talks about things that were core and context. And context are things that you need just to play, and core are those things that differentiate you. And so there was a time when having a website differentiated you. But today, you just have to have it to play. People just know, oh, what's the website? Can I go see what your products are? Just like there was a time when businesses didn't have telephones. Now, no one would set up a business and not have a phone, not have a way for people to contact them. And so social media isn't really a differentiator now. It is really something that you just have to have to be in business.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's not that even social media is difficult if you follow the simple steps, in terms of putting a strategy together and showing up consistently, and being there week in, week out, and having a budget to augment organic reach. So not
Mm.
depending on just the free reach, because you just can't depend on that anymore. But if you have a budget and you know how to use it properly and effectively, and
Mhm.
if you know how to track the results so you can see what your return on ad spend is, well, yes, you can use social media really, really effectively.
I love that. I love that. I said, if you don't measure, how do you know?
I know.
Right. And
It's so true.
so when I've worked with clients, one of the first things is to ask, do you have analytics? And it doesn't matter which platform, which type, just do you have something? And then only measure what you're able and willing to change. Because there are packages out there that'll slice the data up in so many different ways, and this and that and stuff. But which ones are really driving your behavior? Which ones are telling you this post did better or not as well? This text, how do you test those things out? And as we start to talk more about the planner, how do you know what are the things that you do with your clients that help them know when they're making good content?
Yeah, so that's really good. So, well, the first thing we would do when we're working with clients is we make sure that they have all the tracking, all the Facebook Pixel, or if it's Google tracking, they have all the codes in place and that they're working accurately. Because so many times businesses will come to me and they will say, "Oh, by the way, I've tried Facebook ads or Instagram ads, and they haven't worked. I haven't got the result that I needed." And so, sometimes we'll sit down. First thing we'll do is analyze the campaigns. And then
Mhm.
you see that first of all, they don't have any tracking, so
Right.
actually they cannot tell whether it has worked. And secondly, because they don't have tracking, they weren't able to run the right type of ads.
Mhm.
So they run an ad, maybe a traffic ad instead of a conversion ad, which has attracted people with lower intent. So it was never going to work anyway.
Mhm.
So what the planner does is in very simple steps. It sets out, because I know a lot of the time the problems that businesses have is that they're overwhelmed, or they don't have enough time, or they feel they're not using their time effectively, or they feel that they get all motivated about social media and then they start working on it and then they don't get the results they wanted immediately. So then they get disheartened and they stop. So they have this start, stop, scattered and gun approach, and
Mhm.
that doesn't work either. And so what I wanted to do with the planner was to give people a step-by-step, guide that they could follow and quickly implement the steps, and that would help them turn up consistently, and that it's actually the turning up consistently that works. So the
Mhm.
people, so for example, the people who are posting on their social media all year round will make more money consistently, or will make more money around Black Friday and Christmas, rather than the people who just show up at the last minute and run an ad because they have a sale.
Mhm.
So that's what the planner does. It helps people show up consistently. And there's a number of different ways it does that. Like, there's the first part of it is a workbook. So it actually asks the key questions that they need to know the answers to. And like, even though I bring this out every year, I say to people, you can answer those every year, because I ask myself those questions every year to make sure that my core messages have not changed or needed to adjust
Mhm.
them. And then it actually explains the different types of social media content. It shows you how to repurpose that content. It gives you 95 examples of all the different types within the 4
Nice.
categories of content. It then, if you're not too sure how to write post descriptions, or what images or media you should use, or how to put it all together, it goes through
Mhm.
step by step how to do that. And then there's 400 prompts in the planner to help you be consistent, to help you show up consistently. So today is the 31st of January, and gosh, I hope I can read this writing now. So today is National Hot Chocolate Day. You
Oh,
know,
fair enough. I'm in.
but like, if you're a cafe, could you use that to just to even show people how you make your hot chocolate? Or if
Mhm.
you're a coach, a nutritional coach, can you show people maybe how they can have a healthier version of that? Or
Mhm.
if there's allergies, can you show people all of that? So there's so many different ideas there, and so there's one of those for every day of the year. And so, like, as a business owner, you're not going to use the 400 prompts, but if you can get 3 or 4 a month to help you show up, and to integrate that into your content strategy,
Mhm.
then that's what keeps you fresh, and
Yeah. It's
show.
funny because as you're just talking about, so it's National Hot Chocolate Day. So
Yeah.
it's the kind of things that come into mind for me is that, um, and the nice thing is, in your planner, you could look ahead. So on January 1st or 5th or 10th, I could have looked ahead and said, oh, it's going to be National Hot Chocolate Day. And so if I was a retailer, I might set up a hot chocolate station or give out little packets. Hey, come into my store and do this, but announce and use my social media to let people know they can come into the store, get free hot chocolate today.
And the key is, Scott, if you're just discovering now on Hot Chocolate Day that it is Hot Chocolate Day,
Too
it's
late.
probably too late.
Yeah.
And the key is the planning. The key
Hmm.
is to have noticed that last week or the week before, so that you go,
Hmm.
okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to stand out? How are we going to communicate our core messages, link back to our goals,
Yeah.
and tie it into this day when maybe the radio stations or other people out there are talking about that, and maybe we can use the hashtag and get attention and get more
Hmm.
organic reach, get more bang for our buck.
And this gives people a chance to be creative. And I'll just say thank you, hello to Shannon. So she says, "Good afternoon, all." Shannon is a wonderful person, great supporter, and so people that are looking for a virtual assistant, right here, Shannon. So it, it's funny because if you're taking a little bit of creativity and you have some time to think about it. So I mentioned if you're a retail store, I'm looking ahead. Oh, great. Let's do a little promotion, have some set up a hot chocolate stand. And you go, oh yeah, but I'm a contractor. I remodel houses. How was that help me? I go, oh man, how about you take 2 kitchens and you say, you put a cup of get a really nice cup and saucer and so show someone pouring in a really ratty, nasty, dirty kitchen, bad kept peeling countertops or whatever. And then cut to one that you do, one of your remodel, and you go, which kitchen, it's National Hot Chocolate Day. Which one would you rather have? Contact ABC Construction.
So-
I mean, or if you're a real estate person, or I mean, it doesn't matter the industry. You'll be able to look at a prompt like that, and you will find a way if you take the time, if you look ahead a month or 2 months or 3 months even. So this is just fabulous. I love what you have.
And so the whole idea of these is that the planner sets out the months. This is what it looks like. So you can actually sit down and look at a month at a time and just do your bit of planning. And even like at the beginning of the year, which we still are asked, like if you can go through the planner and look at like what are the key dates in your industry, or do you have any anniversaries, or did you want to launch any products or any services, and look to see, is there, can you organize the timing around the prompts in the diary? Because that's going to help you maybe get more attention. So I know, for example, a company that they're a sustainable company, sustainable clothing company, and what they do is they get donations of clothes from people, and they sell them on, and they're also associated with a charity. And they were planning to launch their company about, I think it's 2 years ago, and I was talking to the lady and she was telling me, and I just remembered, I said, hang on, I'm sure there's a better day for you to launch your business. We were able to look down, and there was a day that was like, much more suitable for her. I think it was Recycling Day or International Recycling Day. I can't remember exactly what the prompt was. But then she was able to like organize her whole company launch around a time when radio DJs are looking for content on that day, or journalists are looking for content. And it just means that you're pushing out the content at the most relevant time.
Wow. Yeah, that's fabulous. I'm going to remind everybody, we have Louise McDonnell here, the 2023 Social Media Content Planner, and you do have the little bunny on there because it is
You're the rabbit.
You're the rabbit. And so people could take even that as a theme, and
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
there are different television shows. So my wife and I were watching a rerun of the television show Psych. Right. And there's some of these shows have what they call Easter eggs, right? Just little things. So in every episode of Psych, somewhere in the episode, they always have a pineapple. They're holding a pineapple or wearing a pineapple shirt or a thing like that. So I could see somebody taking your planner and going, let's make a contest, and we'll hide a little rabbit in one of our posts, whether it's a video, and we'll talk about the different types of content, whether it's a video or an image or something. And the first person who finds that bunny gets 10% off or free hot chocolate. I don't know. I mean, you've got so much stuff in here. So let's talk about, you mentioned there's different types of content. So let's talk about that, and not just video or text or images or whatever, but there's different intent that you have.
Yeah, exactly. So I organize content into 4 categories: awareness content, consideration content, sales, and advocate content. So awareness content is the content which performs the best on social media. So it's content where you're not selling, you're not giving advice, you're just simply connecting with somebody at a human level. So maybe if you're a life coach, it's a nice photograph of you out having a walk in the woods. Or, maybe if you're maybe if you're an online maybe if you're an artist, it's just a nice maybe a video of you making something, one of those time-lapse videos. So or maybe it's just a photograph of you and your team out celebrating a big event that you've won, or maybe it's a meet the team, or maybe it's here's my lovely pet, this is the pet that accompanies me into the office. So it's just content that actually some businesses hate to produce this content. They're like, but I don't want to, I just want to show up when I have something to sell. And I'm like, I guarantee you, if you put a nice photograph up of yourself on a Friday evening saying, thank Crunchy, it's Friday, I hope you all have a nice weekend, simple, that will actually be probably the best performing post of the week. It's like if I put a photograph up of my dog, and if I put a photograph up the next day of me giving advice, the dog will always beat me in terms of how many people it reaches, right? And that's because People are on social media to be social, and they're there to
Hmm.
connect with people, and they're more likely to respond to posts where they are connecting with people. So say, for example, we have one of my clients is going to an award ceremony this evening. So I said to her, please send me all the photographs of you getting ready for the awards and before and after when you're all
Hmm.
glammed up. And we're just going to share those tomorrow because people will just love to see that. So
Sure.
that's awareness. That's just, nice trust building, getting to know you type of content. And that's the content that always performs the best. And what people forget is that they think, but what's the dog going to do? What's the photograph of the dog going to do? Well, the
Mhm.
photograph of the dog, which performs really well and reaches lots of people, still reminds people that you're there and still prompts them to book or to order or to sign up or to whatever it is. It still has the impact because it reminds people what they do. Because remember, you have to be showing up consistently. So that's the first category of content. So there's lots of ideas in the planner for that. So again, if you're the type of business that finds it hard to do that, again, it's important that you show up authentically, and it's
Mhm.
content that you're not cringing, that you have to be, able to put it out there and be comfortable with it. Lots and lots of examples for ideas. The second category of content, which is actually really important, especially if you're selling a service, is consideration content. And this is content where you position yourself as an expert. So again, it's really important that you think of your ideal customer and the problems that they have, and you come up, and by thinking about that, you're able to produce short advice posts or blog posts, or 5 things you didn't know about, or all that type of content. And that content is really important because it positions you, it helps build trust, and it's the content which, if you spend a lot of time creating it, put some money behind it and get it in front of lots of people. Sales content, again, I give advice in the planner that oftentimes where people can fall down in sales content is that they confuse people. So in the planner, I show you how to create really well thought out sales messages so that
Mhm.
you get the results you want. And then the fourth category of content is the advocate content. So advocate content is content which is your social proof. So it's when third parties are talking about you. So whether that's the local TV station, local radio station, local newspaper, or maybe it's a customer giving you a testimonial. And so it's what other people are saying about you. So if you can think about your content, and again, there's loads of ideas and different ways that you can spin that type of content in the planner. And then in the planner, I show you how the steps that you go about just to organize your content week in, week out,
Mhm.
and how you use a combination of those 4 different categories of content to help yourself show up consistently. So, so that the photograph of the dog might be the easiest one to get in the week, but it's the one that gets the reach. And then the positioning one is the consideration content. You need the sales content because you need to sell. And the advocate content is backing up everything you say about yourself.
And so when you talk about like the awareness content, so we put the dog up, and it reaches people, and people maybe comment, click, share, like, somehow they engage with it. That's going to improve the probability that the sales content will also be delivered. Is
Yeah, it's
that
so true. Yeah, that's so true. That's how algorithms work. So the more people engage, the more regularly they interact with your content, the more likely they are to see it the next time. So like engagement is essential if you want to get reach, and reach is eyeballs.
Mhm.
So question: how many times is appropriate to post in a day? Well, Dan, I am all about, again, for businesses being, doing as little as possible to get the best results. And I would say in your main news feed, if you're posting 2 or 3 times a week with really good quality content, that is sufficient. And then in your stories, let's say that would be for Instagram and Facebook, you could be posting more frequently there. So it's actually not about quantity, it's about quality. So
Mm, mhm.
what you don't want to do is create social media content that is just bland, and as I call it, 50 shades of vanilla, okay, because that doesn't serve you. What you want is social media content that people know that anytime you post, it's worth paying attention to. So it's certainly quality over quantity. And then again, if you can sit down and think every week, okay, I need to get 3 decent posts out, but they need to be really good quality. You're better off to do that than to have 14 mediocre posts that people mostly ignore. So a good rule of thumb, Dan, is to look at the engagement levels on your posts and the reach on your posts. If the engagement is poor, so people are ignoring it, and the reach is poor, well then, like let's say it's 5% or less than, well then I would stop what you're doing and look at doing, and I haven't seen your post, so this is not being critical of your posts, but look at maybe trying to stand out more and putting more time into higher quality type of post. And then, here's the thing: you can have businesses that start using social media and they have no followers. And so what I really like about social media is that you can have no followers. If you put a lot of time and effort into producing exceptional content that really stands out, put some money behind it, turn it into a paid promotion, and get it in front of lots of people. You can reach lots and lots of people with a few $100s.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think here in the United States, we have the Small Business Administration, which is a government group that's designed to help businesses. And one of the things that they mention is that depending on your business, but the minimum amount that any business should spend on marketing is 7% of their gross sales. And I would think that most businesses, if they were to look at it, they're spending less than that. And so getting some good content, maybe you have to pay a little bit, maybe you have to pay a little bit for ads. But if you're into a heavy consumer product, you're probably looking at more like 20% of your gross sales.
It's so true. People want, they want to spend money on so many other parts of the business, but then when it comes to marketing, that they don't want to spend the money. And so I will say, when it comes to paid promotions, don't see your ad costs as ad spend as a cost, see it as an investment. And so with your tracking in place, okay, if I spent $100 on an ad, how many people did I reach? What was the click-through rate? How many people went through to my website? And how many people purchased? And what was the value of those purchases? And so you don't see that $100 as a cost, you see it as an investment. And so actually, I had an example of one of my clients who'd spent maybe $600 on a campaign. And she's in a really small business, and she came back to me and she's like, I'm not too sure. God, I spent all that money. And so I said, okay, well, let's work it out. And so I said, how many clients did you get from it? And so she told me. I said, and what would they pay you when they come to visit you? So she told me that. And I said, and how many times do they repeat their business? And she goes, oh, they come back every 6 weeks. So by the time we calculated it out, I was like, so she got $11,000 of return from which for 600, that she was worried that she had spent too much money. And I was like, every time if you spend $600 and you make $11,000 back,
Yeah.
And
if you were going to go to the ATM and you go put in $600 and it gives you 11,000.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times are you going to do it until it stops? Right.
But you see, she hadn't thought of associating the cost with the return. And when she understood, all of a sudden she was really happy about her investment. And then it was like, okay, so what's the next campaign? And I'm like, and what are you going to spend? Because now you know that, and once you run the first campaign and you know what the reach was, what the click-through rate was, what the conversion rate was on your website, now you're into improving that performance. How can you get more reach for the same spend? How can you get a higher click-through rate? How can you get a higher conversion rate on your website? So the $600 turns into $15,000 and not 11,000.
Yeah.
So
well, it really is interesting. Can you explain a little bit about some of these terms? So we hear click-through rate and cost per click. So what is it? What are these things?
Yeah, so I have a really good example that I worked out for a client of mine. So again, a very small business, and he's in my academy, and he contacted me and he said, Louise, I'm so disappointed. I did everything you told me, but I ran a campaign and I didn't get any sales. So I was like, okay, show me what you did. Let me have a look. So I went and and I really wanted for him to understand what he had done and why
Mm.
he got the results that he got. And so I showed him his post, which was also his ad. And then I explained to him, I said, your click-through rate was 2%. That means that every 100 people that it reached, only 2 people clicked through. Okay?
Mhm.
So your click-through rate was 2%. So that's what a click-through rate means. It means what percentage of people that see the post or the ad click on it and go through
Mhm.
to maybe your website, your landing page. And so then I was able to look at his website, and I was like, your conversion rate on your website is also 2%. Okay. So that means every 100 people that went to his website, only 2% would potentially would have purchased. So I said, in order to get, if you have an ad with a 2% click-through rate and a website
Mhm.
with a 2% click-through rate, in order to get 10 sales, you need to reach 25,000 people. Okay, if you do the math.
It's so funny because people think of marketing as the creative, the drawing pictures, the filming. It really is math, isn't it? And
It
here's
is,
a
and
guy
then
that understands.
I said, so all that you did wrong was that you didn't reach enough people. And in
Mhm.
fact, 2% click-through rate, click-through rate on your ad is too low, and 2% conversion rate on your website is too low.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I said, if rule of thumb, if people aren't clicking on your ad, what's wrong? Either the image not getting their attention or the post description's not getting their attention.
Mhm. And it
Okay.
really is a combination, and people need to think about this. And this is really kind of around the branding question, but it doesn't have to be too. We don't have to get too technical about it. But when people see an ad and they're reading the text, they see the images, the colors, all of those things create a feeling. And then, so let's say, like right now, we have a blue background and white text. And if somebody clicks on that and it's neon green and orange and flashing red text, that's going to create dissonance and think, did I end up at I thought I was clicking on Louise McDonnell's book, but it looks like I jumped into McDonald's.
The other McDonald's.
So these kinds of things. So we need to think about what that landing page looks like, that the verbiage is consistent, that the images are consistent. It doesn't have to be the same image, but it does have to be consistent. And Bruce Carnahan, he is another fabulous guy. The guy in the blue shirt, and there's his picture of him. Thank you, Bruce. It's very kind. You're a great supporter. So yeah. So we've talked about kind of the different types of content: awareness and consideration, sales, advocate, and tracking it, and then really these measurements, and that you just need to reach more people. You need the content that's going to convert better, and you just do that through testing and see what works with your audience. What about text versus video versus still images versus carousel images? I mean, there's a lot of different options out there. What's your opinion? It's your experience.
Yeah, so the most important thing is to stop the person you're trying to reach, stop them scrolling to get their
Mm,
attention. And how do you do that? It's having very strong visuals, whether that's the thumbnail of your video, or whether it's a single image, or whether it's a carousel of images. And it's also about having really well thought out headings, and the first line of your social media, of that description, or whether it's an organic post or a paid ad, it has to really grab their attention.
mhm,
And so I would use a combination of videos, single images, carousels, reels, square video, different types of content. But essentially, it's down to the fundamentals of really thinking of your ideal customer,
mhm.
and and also then, Scott, tuning into what's working, tuning into the posts that are getting the higher click-through rate, that are getting the higher reach, that are getting the higher engagement, and doing more of that,
Yeah.
and stopping to don't repeat stuff that doesn't work.
Yes. And here's an interesting question. So let's say I'm posting 3 times a week, and I look back over the month. So I have roughly 12 posts, and some of them did really good. Picture of me and the dog down by the river. Wow, people love that one. It's really popular. And then another one that is a little video of me saying, please sign up for my webinar. I really offer good stuff. And it's like, doesn't do good. Which one of those should I put money toward as a paid ad? The one that didn't do so well, and maybe I want to try to push it, or the one that did do good and resonated, and which one should I put money to?
Okay, so the posts that always perform the least well are the sales posts.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wouldn't I love my dog, and my dog does really well organically, but I'd never pay for her to get any more reach than she does. I put money towards the strategic content.
Mm,
So sometimes it's content where you're just giving advice and you're just drawing somebody in and you're warming them up. So if you're having a webinar, don't think about just running one post to get people to the webinar. Think about creating a series of content which will get their attention and get them to maybe like or follow you or
mhm.
interact with that content. So the next time you're running a paid promotion for your webinar, that they're more likely to see it and more likely to want to be there. So
So that's that is really interesting. I'm thinking about some of the mechanics of doing that and how this would work. So I could say set up a campaign for my webinar that's coming up,
mhm,
and then there's an ad set, and I can put start and end dates on those ad sets as well as a budget.
mhm.
And then there's ads that go with it. So I could create maybe 3 different videos that say, here's some important things. You really want to do consideration around your social media posts. So you want awareness, consideration, sales, and advocate posts. And next week, I'm going to tell you more about those. And so maybe I run that ad, and then it ends, and the next one picks up, and I can pre-program that, and those will all happen automatically. So there's some
And
there's some strategy.
And the really good thing about that is, let's say that you do that, your webinar is coming up and you say, okay, 3 things online retailers need to know to succeed in 2023. Number 1, number 2, and then number 3 is come to my webinar. If you spend a few $100s getting that video out there on Facebook and Instagram, you can then retarget the people who watch the video. So you can
Mm,
send them you can send them a specific ad because you know that they've watched the video, you know what length they've watched the video. And you can say, oh, just a little reminder, places are limited on my webinar. Here's the link.
oh, yeah, very clever. So Bruce
Mm.
asks, has the difference in effectiveness changed in any particular media or form of sharing content? So, I know that video, especially the, I'll just say the TikTok style video, the vertical video, has definitely been pretty popular. But what it comes down to really is what's converts.
So at the moment, there's one of the biggest changes that I have to say is really annoying me, if I'm being very honest, is that now all video on Instagram. So in the past, you could have uploaded a square video under a
Mm,
minute on Instagram, and it would have been a square video. Whereas now they're making that's automatically a reel.
mm,
Okay, and so that kind of content. So actually, if you're going to produce video for Instagram now, just create it in real format because that's how it's going to display anyway.
mhm.
Um, but in my experience, the real style videos are not performing as well on Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook's still a really important platform because there's so many people that still hang out there. And
Mhm.
so it just means that there's more time, for the likes of us and agencies or anybody that's managing their own social media. Now you're creating that video content in you're in different formats whereas in the last year you could have just created the square video and it would have worked on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. You would have changed and repurposed the description, but the same video would have worked everywhere. So I'm not sure that's something that really has occurred to me, Bruce. And the TikTok style video works well on TikTok and will translate well to Instagram, but it doesn't really translate that well to Facebook. So you need to put a little bit more work into creating different forms of content for Facebook. So yeah, that would be something that really has occurred to me and annoys me every day now, because it means I have to do more work.
And I'm going to put this back up so that people can see the book, 2023 Social Media Content Planner, with tons of examples, month-long planners. You do this for the whole year. People can really sit down and at least plan out their strategy. And we're here with our author, Louise McDonnell, from the west coast of Ireland. People probably picked up on that because I'm on the west coast of the United States. We sound a little bit different.
Just a little bit.
But it's the book is something that's refreshed every year. And
Yep.
there's and as you said, there's things like today is National Hot Chocolate Day. People can look ahead and be creative about the different types of content, but really I think mindful in the 4 types of content that they're trying to generate. So again, awareness, consideration, sales, and advocate content. And
And actually, the whole key to it is content. I see Bruce there saying he doesn't use Facebook and Instagram. Well, that's fine, because like content, you can apply to any social media channel. So a lot of people would use the planner and never use Facebook and Instagram, but we may be using it just for LinkedIn as well. It's about showing up consistently with content, not necessarily showing up consistently on any specific channel. So I think that's important as well.
this is one of those interesting things, I think about. You go, okay, so I'm not on Facebook or Instagram, but posting content other than whatever costs you to create that or hire someone to post, it doesn't cost anything to put your message there. And I think about billboards. So maybe there's a particular stretch of the highway that I never drive down, but there's a billboard. And if the billboard company called me up and said, "Hey, Scott, that stretch of the highway where we have a billboard, tell you what, any message you want, we'll put it up there. Your website, phone number, contact stuff, all about your product for free. You just give us the message you want up there." And I go, I don't drive on that section of the highway. I'm not really into billboards that much. Thank you, but no thanks. That's not going to happen, right?
No.
I would jump on the opportunity to put my
Yeah.
message up for free to people who are interested in what I have to offer.
Exactly. I suppose the key to that is that it's wherever your customers are hanging out, So I don't know, Bruce, or your business, but so if your customers are hanging out on TikTok, yeah, you got to be there. If they're on Facebook and Instagram, you got to be there. If they're not, you don't have to be there.
Mhm.
It's them, unfortunately, which get to dictate what we do, because if we want to reach them, we've got to be where they are.
Mm. So here's a comment again. So true, Scott. Unfortunately, I've had some prior bad hacker
Oh.
moments. So that's my lesson learned. People are not there. It is a safety thing. Well, I really understand. I understand that. And the benefit is that we're really not looking at a personal account. We're looking at the business account and trying to reach people. And social media in itself is just a communication channel. And the social part of it is two-way, right? I mean, you want people to interact with your posts. You want them to give you content or comments and be able to respond back to them. And that brings up another important aspect of social media. And that's people, if they see your business posting content onto social media and they hit the messenger button and send you a message or a direct message on Instagram or whatever the platform is, somebody needs to be there to respond in a business time frame, whatever that is, 24
Yeah.
hours, 48 hours, something.
We have this saying, like, that you market online, but you actually sell offline.
Hmm.
So, if you're busy showing up consistently on whatever social media channel you're using, and then somebody starts a conversation with you, it's really important to engage with them and get that conversation offline and get selling to them,
Mhm.
because that's what's ultimately going to get you the results. So if you sometimes what you'll find is that you have people that are so busy just creating content that they forget to sell, or they don't optimize their channels for sales, or
Mhm.
when I'm speaking at a conference, I ask people, I said, there's generally three different types of people I deal with. There's the people, and I ask them, who are the people that put their head in the sand and ignore it? And they're me. And I said, who are the people who are really busy on social media but aren't getting results for their business? And that's usually a high percentage of people there. And then
Mhm.
who are the people, third people, who are the people who absolutely hate it and only want to run ads and only want to show up when they've got something to sell? And so, I'm like, unfortunately, not showing up isn't going to work, or showing up but not getting results isn't much good either, or only showing up when you're going to sell isn't going to work either. And so I that's what I teach people. I teach them how to show up consistently, with our core messages, related back to their goals, and
Mhm.
show up with different forms of social media content, augment that with paid ads, and then get into the stats and really understand what's working in the back.
A lot of what I'm hearing is strategy. It comes down to what the heck are you going to do? What are you trying to make happen? And not just kind of willy-nilly going, oh, I need to have a post this week, and scrambling to create something. It is going to be incoherent. It's not going to hit the different types of content that you need. You're not going to resonate with the audience. Oh, and by the way, Bruce, you're right. I love that. Market online, sell or share offline. I'll say that's tweetable right there. And so, how did you decide to create this planner? Because you started this one quite a number of years ago, and you refresh it every year. So, what was it that drove you to do this?
Well, the reason I actually wrote a book in the first place was, I had been speaking at an event, and when I got home that evening, one of the attendees emailed me, and they were like, "You should write a book."
Mhm.
And so that sowed a seed for me, and it took me a few years to, they're like, "Oh, you have so much information, you have so much knowledge." And I was like, "Yeah, I think I will write a book." And then it took me a few more years till I actually sat myself down and focused myself and wrote it. And that was great. I loved writing my first book. The whole idea with the planner is that I kind of feel that people don't necessarily need like reams and reams and reams and reams of stuff that they need to be reading. Okay. And so what I try to do with the planner is actually to give them, in the most concise manner possible, a tool that they can work with every day that's going to get them results.
Mhm.
And and so I actually I work really hard to determine what's good enough to go in and what doesn't need to go in.
Yeah.
And so, like, the first like 80 pages of this are like a workbook. A lot of it is workbook or text explaining the different types of content. Okay, so that, and then we have the prompts, and then it's a planner. So there's like a week to view diary in it.
Mhm.
So the whole idea with this is that businesses contact me and they share, oh, I've just sat down and I've worked through this and I feel great, and now I now know the steps I need to follow. And so that's the whole idea. And every year, of course, the prompts change. And every year, as you know, social media changes and the trends
Mhm.
change. And so that's why I bring it. And every year, like, I use it as my diary. I write in it, scribbled in. I just love having something to write in, even though I love online and I'm totally into digital, but I
Mhm.
love writing. And I have all my old, diaries and planners kept. So if you said to me, Louise, have you got a phone number for such and such? I'm like, what year was that? What month was that? And I'll find it within, I just love
Mhm.
having that. And so that's the
Yeah.
whole idea of the planner.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I go through a lot of planners and journals,
Yes.
books, notebooks, right? Just raw notebooks. Um, yep,
Two on
I'm
my desk.
I'm with you on it because I process through writing. There's something about the friction of actually using a pen or a pencil and writing and crossing things out, and sometimes my handwriting gets really bad because I'm just excited. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just got to get this down, and it helps. So scribbling is creative and helps me remember things too, Bruce. I like
Exactly.
that.
And I also wanted to create something so the first year that I published the planner, it was in black and white, and I hated it.
Mm,
And so what I wanted is something that was full color, so that's something that's nice and small enough that you can bring it around in your handbag or in your suit, in your computer bag or whatever it is, and it's not too heavy to carry, but it's nice as well, and it's nice and colorful to write in. So
mhm. Yeah, it's I say get something that you like. Like one of those things with doing journaling in the morning for me is, not only do I have a special book that I write in, my journal book, I use a special pen. I use a special pen, right? That I don't use for other things. It's just that. It's kind of a part of that ritual or ceremony or, that puts me in that frame of mind.
and I love having no lines. I can just write without having to stay in the lines.
All right. So yeah, that's perfect. Very creative. Yeah. So we asked Louise, who said, do you color in the lines? And she said, there are lines?
No lines. No lines.
Friction or flow. Yeah. Writing is essential for many. It was Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi who wrote the book Flow, and people get into that flow state. He also wrote a book called Creativity, where he did quite a bit of research on that process. And in fact, he just died this last year, I think. But anyway, his book Flow has been really important for people because they say, you need to get into that, and I can see sitting down with the calendar, whatever the time frame is. But do you recommend like weekly, monthly, quarterly? What's a good way for people? So, and I'm encouraging people, click on the book, uh, add it to your cart, send it to a friend, someone that that has a business that's been struggling with promotion and marketing and social media, and they look at that blank box and go, "What am I going to post?"
Yeah.
So buy them this. The price is unbelievably low for what people get out of this. But Louise, when people are planning, how far out should they be looking? What do you recommend?
So, no, back thinking, love it. Thank you, Bruce. Um, I would say at least once a week, So generally what you'd want to be doing is planning at least for the week in advance, but also keeping an eye on the next, the following week and the week after, so that if there's anything coming up that you need to get a special photo or video.
Mhm.
I would always sit down at the beginning of the year and have like a kind of an idea of how the whole year is going to be mapped out, and that's kind of at a top level. So January is a wonderful time for doing that. There's a wonderful exercise you can do. It's very simple.
Mhm.
Sit down, go through, and ask yourself, what did I do last year that worked? What did I do last year that didn't work? And what am I going to do this year? And
Mhm.
and to even at the start of the year, to just go through that exercise and make a list of actionable points and when you're going to have them actioned by. So if you can see at a top level how your year is going to pan out, then you really need to be getting into the detail at least a week in advance.
Yeah.
So in our agency, what we tend to do is like we do like a plan, a digital marketing plan for our clients. But then we meet every week, and at that meeting we review how the social media posts, how the paid promotions, how the emails performed the previous week, and then we
Mhm.
make a plan for the coming week. But as part of that, we have our eye on the following week and the following week. So it's like, what's coming up,
Mhm.
is there anything big we need to be thinking about? And that generally works. That keeps everybody on track. It
Mhm.
keeps our clients on track. So it's like they're completely on top of what they need to do. It means that we get to, produce the best possible quality content, ads, and emails for them. And it means that we're always tracking results and making sure that we're getting the best possible results.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just say, be relentless in your tracking.
Relentless. I have to say, I love data mining. I love sitting down and going through and looking at the click-through rates and looking, why did that perform and why did that not perform? Was it the image? Was it the timing? Was it the day of the week? Was it was there a big event on that day? Why did it perform? Why did that not perform? Did you put a location tag in that? Did you not in that? Did
Right.
you use the hashtag in that? Did you not use it in the other? What did you
Mhm.
do? What was the difference?
Yeah.
Um, so it's only by continually tuning into everything that you do that you learn.
That's where that planning comes on. We're talking about books, so this is so I have my own. I design my own independent dash planner. People can find that, but this is handmade in England by Trevor
Lovely.
Larkings at Right Notes. So uh, I and I only use pencil in that one because I don't know. This is something. In fact, I have a very distinct pencil that I use for that. So much so that my daughter took mine. I had to buy another. So, um,
Of course
so
you did.
these things happen, yeah. But this is just one of those um, things that you need to sit down and do it. And if you didn't do it in January, since today is the last day of that, then as they say, the two best times to plant a tree are 50 years ago and today. So
Yeah.
if at the end of 2022, that would have been a great time to plan out your 2023 content. If not, do it today. You can buy the book, you can get the planner. It's right here in the carousel here on Amazon Live. Add to cart. And again, I'm just saying that there's so many people that have friends that have businesses that know they need to do their social media. They can get the 2023 social media content planner. Uh, as I said, the price is so low on this. I'll just say that the value that you're giving people for this is wonderful, and so buy like multiple copies and just because it's on Amazon, you can say send one to this person and one to that person, one to this person. It's better than a birthday card. It's going to help their business. With that, Louise, I just want to give you the last moments to um, give people some final thoughts and how they can get a hold of you so that they can work with you. I mean, get the book, of course, but how do people work with you or maybe bring you in as a speaker in person or virtual?
Yeah, so I do lots of speaking in person and virtual conferences as well. So you'll find me on sellonsocial.media. So www.sellonsocial.media. And you're welcome to come take a look at my agency services where people outsource to it, or the academy services where we train businesses how we do step by step in my online community. So we have about 250 different members from all over the world. And, we do monthly live training sessions. There's also a library of training courses you can tap into on unlimited on demand. And there's just always live Q&As as well. So you can hop on and ask any question you need to. So, yeah. Thank
Well,
you
just
so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And I really enjoyed the chat.
oh, it's just wonderful to hang out with you, and I've learned so much. Thank you for sharing all of this. And with that, we're going to sign off here. Uh, Thank you to everybody that joined. Thank you for the comments. It was great to interact. And with that, I will just tell everyone to have a fabulous day. Cheers.